So, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining Rome Live at this time with Maria Fung, who is an expert in award travel for families. A little background on myself and Rome. I'm Tim Quinn from Rome, one of the founders, and Rome is an award flight and hotel search tool that helps you quickly find uh, redemptions across 28 different airline loyalty programs and three different hotel loyalty programs. With us today, we have Maria Fung, who will be the expert go to ask questions about family travel. Maria, do you want to do a quick introduction on yourself?
Yes, Tim, thank you so much. And I'm so glad we are back again since April. Okay. I'm Maria Fung, the creator of Maria Pons the Way. My expertise is in family award travel. So I help families, especially Asian Americans, to turn their Pons chaos into unforgettable business and first class travel trips to Asia Pacific. I use my four-step process to cut through the noise, to cut through those confusing loyalty program rules and make it clear, make the process simple so the families can spend more time to build their trip and build their memories together instead of spending time stressing out. So you can find me on my website, mariaponstheway.com, or follow me on Facebook, Maria Pons the Way. And you can also find me on What Travel 101 as a moderator, and I'm also a contributor in a Taiwanese American community called Triplets. So very, very nice, very excited to see all of you. Yes.
Yeah. And we're super excited to have you. Last time I know we ran through a presentation, which was a little bit more formal, and we realized
Yeah.
people wanted to just ask questions for their specific cases. So
Mhm.
this time we'll just start off with a few questions about general advice for award travel. And after that, it's really about everyone who's attending. This is about getting your questions asked. I know that award travel families is very difficult historically. But there are sweet spots and there are tools and ways of doing it. So, Maria, why don't you tell us a little bit high level, what are the key sort of ways to find work travel for families?
So I can share my experience that always start with my priorities. So apart from setting where we want to go, the other things we want to know is, are we willing to reposition? Um, are we willing to fly on different flights or different days, or we have to fly together? So it also depends on your structure of family, whether you have small kids or you have like middle schoolers or like us, like college kids. So this affects how you shape your priorities and how you set your strategies for your next step. So when you have your priorities like, oh, which airlines, which cities, repositioning, then look at the programs. A lot of people say, oh, I want to go to Asia. Then which city? I want to fly through Asian cities. Then which part? So it also affects what kind of routes, what kind of points, what kind of airlines you can choose for your award search. And then the third one you look at is your cards. So I always tell the families that points is just like money. It is your investment. And how you build your investment portfolio is very important. We have heard about, oh, we get chase, they get all the chase. However, they can't really get you to take EVA Air to Taiwan or even Southeast Asia. So again, know what you want and your destination and build from that, reverse engineer. And the last one is very important. So it is also, I like teams here to support me on the tools. The right tools is very important. co-pilot for you to build your award search and also to get you to the success. So these four simple steps would help you to set your whole plan strategy. Mhm.
Yeah, I think I'm totally in agreement. It's
Yeah.
really you need to understand and figure out where you want to go. And then you can
Yes.
also craft your credit card strategy for that.
Mhm.
Maria specifically mentioned EVA Airways because EVA Airways is one of the best hidden ways of getting to East Asia. So if you want to fly to Japan and you know Japan Airlines and ANA are always booked up, EVA, you can probably book 4 business class seats, but you have to have EVA points. And the only cards that transfer to EVA are Citi at 1 to 1 and Capital One at 2 to 1.5. So that's those two cards people don't necessarily have currency wise compared to Chase or Amex, right? So just know where you want to go and then you can craft your strategy. I'm going to start a quick poll on just how many people have heard of Rome. But then, Maria, I think there are some questions. If you can post in the chat your website, people are asking for it.
Okay, yes. Let me see. So,
Uh,
so there's a question. Go ahead,
yeah,
Tim.
if you, someone's asking, is your website mariapointstheway.com? If you can just put that in the
Okay.
webinar
Yeah.
chat. And Maria, maybe you want to give one example of booking for a family of 4 or 5, and then we can just go through questions. I already see a lot of specific questions.
Okay. I'm so so for example, I we are planning to travel back to Hong Kong and Asia this winter. So it is all talking about 4, 5 tickets and in the peak season. Instead of using the lowest redemption rate, I'm now looking at what kind of programs that help me to really get the seats. Especially, everyone wants to fly out of the States on December 15th or December 19th, this kind of time frame. So I probably would not use American Airlines because of the what calendar window, which is much later than Japan Airlines. Um, in this case, I most likely would choose Japan Airlines mileage or using Cathay Pacific Asia miles to get the Japan Airlines seats. So this is something I'm planning. And if you have some ideas like, oh, where you want to go, or for the Easter or for the spring break, just feel free to drop your questions. Mhm. And my advice to all of you is yes. When I say, hey, keep your flexibility, be flexible, it is not something that I I say, hey, you travel tomorrow. It is not something I mention, oh, this kinds of flexible. It is how how diverse of your points you have on your hands. If you only have one card or two cards, then probably you can't pivot or make the quick decision when the plan falls apart. If you have like just like what Tim mentioned, oh, Capital One, Citibank, American Express, Chase, and even Brit, then you have a lot of choices. In the peak season, flexibility and being agile are very important.
Yeah, and then Maria made a reference to booking Japan Airlines with American Airlines versus JL Mileage Bank, right? And this is really talking about the award calendar when it opens up. So I'll show you a quick example of what that means. So to the experts in here, you obviously know the best time to book a flight is right when it gets released. Um, But for most people, they don't know that airlines release their award availability for booking on different days, right? So if you go down to the list, we can see that Air Canada releases um, availability to book 355 days in advance, right? Um, you look at British Airways, right? Cathay Pacific's 360 days in advance. So potentially people may be booking Japan Airlines first class right as it opens on Cathay Pacific using Cathay Pacific miles before it ever hits American Airlines at only 331 days out. And so on the right-hand column, we show exactly how far it is as of today. Um,
Yes, it is very important. And Tim, I have got a lot of questions from the comments during I posted in Romy. I'm can we can we keep track the early bird, which is very important for us.
yeah, sure. So do you want to go through some questions right now then?
Okay. Yeah.
So someone anonymous asked, hope to hear your thoughts on credit card points on business class airfare versus splurging on hotels and how to think about this.
Um, you go first or me first, Tim.
I can give some thoughts, right?
Yes.
So typically how you think about redeeming for business or hotels. It's very nuanced because if you have Chase points or Bilt points that transfer to Hyatt, you're typically going to find very consistent value, 2 to 4 cents per point, redeeming with Hyatt hotels. The flip side is sometimes with flights, either business or first class, you can get way more than 2 cents or 4 cents per point, right? You can get sometimes up to 15, maybe even 20 cents per point if it's first class. So it's really about what you value most. Typically, I'll say for me, right, and this is I play a higher emphasis of I want that outsized redemption value. I want to get JAL first or ANA first, or even Lufthansa or Emirates first, right? Even over a hotel night. But that's just my personal preference because I view flying 15 hours or 12 hours as very painful. So I want to make those painful hours as less painful as possible. Versus once I'm at the city or Paris, Tokyo, wherever I'm at, it's much less painful going for just paying cash with for a hotel. So that's how I think about it, but it really depends on you. Maria, what do you think?
I for air travel, for transportation, I definitely will put them on business class because, you know, Trans-Pacific or Trans-Atlantic, they are talking about 10 hours, 14 hours. So, and when we talk about business class, first class, it is all about the complete experience. I'm, for example, the lounge, the food, the environment, and also the service. It is the whole package. I'm so I would put that onto I the air travel. I'm while hotel, it depends. It depends on the duration and also the season. For example, like summer, we spend 1 month in Italy, Bologna, because of the summer study. So we gave up the chance to earn a lot of Hyatt points, Marriott points. We we stayed in Airbnb. Then how to earn the points through Airbnb? If you remember, there are some kind of promotions through the credit card or bonus categories that you get 5 or 10 times per dollar. Then you buy the gift card. I buy because I know we will stay in Airbnb, so we bought quite a number of Airbnb credit card and we use them. Then it turns out we earned a lot of flexible points.
Yeah, I would just come back. I forgot to answer the how do you choose between them? Um, I think a general rule of thumb is just think about the cents per point and the hours it would take you to get the outsized value, right? So flights, high cents per point. but it's also going to be a high amount of legwork and hours. Whether you're using the Roam tool, or you're searching manually, it's going to be a lot of hours because they're very rare. Hotel points, and it's mostly only Hyatt that's truly worth it to transfer from a credit card points currency. Much more consistent value, um, but much lower value too, right? But easier to find. Lots of questions, not all on family travel, but we'll answer them. Next question is, can you please talk about booking safety flights, but not losing points or money when you rebook a better flight or deal?
Oh, I have a lot of these kinds of experience, especially we talk about flexibility. Um, I would, I would, I would look at the cash ticket, to be honest, especially when we look for the award tickets to Japan or to Hong Kong, to Taiwan, or to Southeast Asia. I may not really start from San Francisco. So I look for the cities flying us from US West Coast cities like Seattle, even Vancouver, San Diego, Los Angeles, and Phoenix. So for that part, I would use the cash ticket, which is refundable for me to cover. As long as I keep shopping for better flights, I'm I can really get the money back if I get the better flights later on. So this is how we call it, or you call it, safety flights. Any tips from you, Tim?
Yeah, so since the pandemic, a lot of airlines have been, especially US airlines, have been more lenient on refund policies, whether even if you're booking cash, for example, right? So I think believe United still has a policy if you book with cash on a main fare economy or above, it's refundable at least with credit. And almost all the US airlines, when you're booking with points redemptions, really applies to AA specifically, you can refund them for free. So I will say it depends on how many miles you have. So, some people can't do safety flights using points, which I recommend actually is the best way to do safety flights if you want to do that. For me, not typically, I never do safety flights, but I'm comfortable waiting until 2 weeks before my travel day, 1 week before my travel day, sometimes even 3 days before my travel day, because that's when usually the best last minute deals come into play. And I'm willing to position to another airport, meaning fly to a different airport to try to grab a deal other than my home airport. So I think for you specifically, safety, just if you have points with a specific loyalty program that has no fees, think American Airlines, for example, definitely do it. But most of the time, the fees are not that bad when you book with points, right? I believe Alaska is around $25. Airplanes for cancellations, airplanes around 50 something, Flying Blues similar. I think when you get into first class with like booking A&M Virgin Atlantic, it's probably like 75 to 100, something like that. So for a first class ticket, that costs $15,000, right? So it really depends. Again, you'll find that most of the answers will be it depends on what you value, right? But you can definitely book economy, refundable economy at that.
Yes. Okay.
So next question. Nan asks, I have 130K Delta points, very hard to use. Do you, how
Oh,
do I use them basically? I'm interested in New York to Europe.
okay. Maybe you laugh at me. I have never used Delta points, and also I haven't flown on Delta flights. This one I will put it on my notes, and I will get back to you. How about Tim?
Yeah, so I would say the general population and
Hmm.
most beginners, when I first started as well, Delta
Hmm.
is very much in everyone's mind in terms of branding, right? They have
Hmm.
great branding. But in terms of keeping Delta miles, they're just very they're just very hard to use because Delta, the way they price their points redemptions are pretty
Yes,
close.
very dynamic. Yes.
Yes,
Mhm.
dynamic, close to the cash fare, right? So there's very few sweet spots that's worth it to get a Delta One, which I assume is what you want to use it for. Um, I'll answer your question directly, and then I have a recommendation for you. So, if you really want to go to Europe, your best bet is probably going to be using Delta points for economy with 130K points, because for Delta One, 130K is not going to get you a flight. Um,
Mhm.
sometimes,
I,
yeah, go ahead.
yes. And even though you mentioned Europe, I know a lot of people here, they are interested in Asia. So let me just jump in. While I will follow up with your question, for Delta points, you can use it especially from Seattle to Taipei because Delta operates this flight and they always have kind of um good price, I mean, good redemption rate for their members. I mean, on and off. For example, if you have Delta, American Express Delta card, you get 10% off from the redemption. And normally one way it is 98,000 Delta points. And I found it is very decent, reasonable amount for business class flying to 12, 13 hours. And the other way that you can fund that, it is a kind of tips that you can try to start to fund that is because Delta is in SkyTeam network. That means if you read my post, I talk about this is about the schools. So within SkyTeam School, there are many friends like Virgin Atlantic, Korean Air. So try to start with these kinds of airlines. Try to type in your cities and see what it pops up. Uh, I haven't used Delta points before, just like you may laugh at me. But I do use Virgin Atlantic points to redeem Korean Air between Hong Kong and Korea on business class and economy class for just for regional purpose. So this is the starting point for you to try to play around. Mhm. Yeah, but I will get back to you. Okay.
Yeah, and I think this is probably a good segue to show you some of the Roam tool.
Mm.
It helps to visualize the question you're asking. So let me just share. So basically, all I did was go turn on Skyview, which is our cache search. It searches the top 6,500 routes, and we save it down so you can do some of these large searches, right? So I put in NYC to Europe across the next 16 days, and I filtered by Delta and nonstop, right? Right here. So you can see that all the Delta business class costs 200,000 points. This is Delta JFK to Rome, for example, right? Um, let's do, like, you can also say JFK to London, for example, 200,000, 220,000 points. So this is why I recommended, hey, maybe it makes sense for you to, let's just see what, let's see if there's any good premium economy actually. So premium economy, maybe that makes sense for you, 74,000 points from, this is Newark to Charles de Gaulle. So that could get you close to 2 tickets, especially if you have the Delta credit card with the percent discount. And then what Maria was saying is like, hey, most people within points who've done it a long time don't really use Delta because let me show you something else. If you have an Amex card rather than an Amex Delta card, if you have Amex, you can transfer to Virgin Atlantic, for example, right? Let's look at their pricing. So you can see, I'm going to go to business class for you. So you can see New York to London's 29,000 points, plus $575. The fees are a little high for Virgin Atlantic, but you take it all into consideration together, 29,000 points, right? What is that, $290? So you can do the math, right? That's about, I don't know, $900 for a business class flight that otherwise would cost you $3,000, maybe $4,000, $5,000, depending on the specific flight. Okay, we will answer the next question. So this person is a big fan of yours, Maria.
Well,
What's
thank
the
you.
best way to get multiple business or first class seats? Minimum four. If you're okay looking to book 1 year in advance, but need the seats on the same flight.
Mm.
And they're fine with date flexibility, repositioning. And then they said Asia seems harder to find than Europe, so I think they're open to both.
Oh, okay. So you agree with me or not? I I always say Singapore Airlines is definitely number one that you can get 5 to 6 business class or 5 to 6 premium economy class on the same flight. The only hesitation, the only thing holding people back is the rate, the up, the award redemption rate. But don't forget one thing. If you look at the bank partners, Singapore Airlines has 5 to 6 bank partners instead of one or two like ANA. They only have one or maximum two with Marriott if we count it in. So there are a lot of sources for you to earn the points and do it on Singapore Airlines redemption. If if your goal is to put everyone on the same class, on the same flight. So that is going back to my first stage of the process. Know your priorities. Whether you want everyone on the same flight, travel on the same day, but different flight or different classes, it really affects the whole strategy. So this is the first thing. And the second thing is if we are not talking about 4 to 5, maybe 3 or 4, then the other one Tim and I probably always mention is EVA. Um, they are very exclusive to their members. And they really have certain seats for you to redeem. They may not release more than two in the beginning, but throughout the whole duration, they will clear the wait list. So it will be much easier when compared. It is always about comparison. It is much easier when we compare like Cathay Pacific or Japan Airlines and even ANA. When we talk about the early bird, just put aside the last minute. Last minute is another kind of thing. But if you want to uh, manage early bird, that means when the calendar opens and you get all the tickets, and that's all. I don't want to think about it the whole year. Then it is the way you do it. Um, ANA, I would say they used to be quite consistent. Recently, okay, you need to be fast anyway. So you need to do a lot of homework to keep track of the pattern. So the tool like Roame can help you. And of course, you need to do your own manual work, but you have to be fast, the action. And Japan Airlines and Cathay Pacific, they have certain seats, but they may not really put everyone on the same class, maybe across different cabins. And also, it is quite tricky. Cathay Pacific, for example, they say their calendar opens 360 days out. However, they may not do the same to their own flight. So you have to set alert, for example, on Roamy, and also you have to keep track by yourself. So uh, still, you need some effort on that. I go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can step in a little bit on Europe. So Maria did a wonderful job on Asia, and for Asia, people typically don't think about Singapore directly on KrisFlyer as much, or EVA or Cathay, because very few tools cover them. Rome does happen to cover Singapore and Cathay, but not EVA
Yes.
yet. So hopefully we'll get that soon.
Yeah.
For Europe, it's a little bit easier. You don't necessarily have to book a 1 year out. Sometimes they're sporadic. And what do I mean by sporadic? So I'll show you an example. So
Mhm.
typically Flying Blue and Virgin Atlantic are going to be your best bet for Europe for 4 to 5 seats, right? So, hey, I'm going to look for business class. Again, I have Skyview turned on because we'll be able to search broadly. So I'm searching United States to Paris, for example, right? I'm going to do nonstop and lowest, right? So you see, this is a great example. I'm glad this actually showed up when I'm demoing this. So this is Air France business class, November 4th, which if you want to fly that, that's actually like cutting close, but Washington, D.C. to Paris, Charles de Gaulle. And it's cost 37,500 points with a 20% transfer bonus right now from Amex. Otherwise, it would cost you 45,000 points, right? 45,000 points on Flying Blue. And you can see there's 9 seats. So Flying Blue is really a workhorse for getting really good business class redemptions to Europe because they often do drops throughout every single day. There's different drops, right? So sometimes they're 9 seats, which is crazy to think about, but they actually definitely do that.
Mm.
Another one for Europe is, let's see if we can see it here. Oh, well, this one, I wasn't going to mention it, but to people who
Mm.
want to fly business class to Europe, right? Air Tahiti Nui via American Airlines, you can see it. There's 4 seats plus. American
Yeah.
Airlines miles are a little bit more precious, but if you have those and you want to use this is a good redemption for such a long flight. I will say, obviously, Air Tahiti Nui is not as fancy as Air France business class, but look, it's business class to Europe.
Mm.
And then the other one I was going to mention is one I mentioned already earlier, right? Which is, what am I doing wrong here? Oh, to Paris. Sorry, I'm going to do Europe. Virgin Atlantic. You can see, well, I guess these aren't that great, but usually Virgin Atlantic will have some good redemptions to Europe as well for multiple seats. And let me check BA. Um, the only problem with BA is the high fees. Otherwise, BA
Yes.
would be a really good workhorse for Europe because almost all the different credit cards transfer to them either directly or through an obvious
Mm.
partner.
Yeah. And I also used the tools to help me to search the flight for us to fly back from Europe to San Francisco this summer. As I mentioned, we stay in Bologna, Italy for a month. So I got 3 business class ticket on Condor Air through Alaska. But I really value that very much. I try to really search something that I could use, for example, like Aeroplan or Life Miles. So I use the criteria instead of just one single city. I use a region or a multiple cities. I type in multiple cities so that I I expand my possibilities that I could fly on that. And finally, I think a week out, uh, Romy showed me, oh, there are 9 seats from Zurich to San Francisco on United Airlines Polaris. That's great. I'm at least life you're lying flat flying back, right? So it is very useful and just very small tips how you search, how you set your criteria really affect the whole result. So the tools can help you do a lot of things, but you have to be very clear what you tell them to do. Mhm.
Right. And I think so. Maria talks about the alerts, right? So if you're setting alerts, all you have to do is create alerts.
Mm.
It's very easy by clicking a button, but just make sure you set all your filters correctly for what you want to filter for. So max points, which programs you want to cover before you set it, right? Or else we'll send you too many emails. We send a lot of alerts. That's why most row members get the deals before. But Maria brought up a great point about Singapore Airlines. So let's just take a look at Singapore
Mm.
Airlines. I'm going to do US Anywhere, and then let's do Singapore Airlines Chris Flyer. And then I'm going to get rid of the points and then change this to 4 people and just show, hey, what we found recently. So you can see, oh, well, this is better than I expected, honestly. Um,
Wow.
So
Mm.
for JFK to Frankfurt and Singapore Airlines business class, that is one of their fifth freedom flights, which means they don't stop at their home airport. So it is a little pricier than what you would redeem on Air Canada, but Air Canada doesn't necessarily have four seats for you. So Air Canada fees
Yeah.
probably be around 60,000 points versus 81,000 on KrisFlyer. But a lot of the programs all transfer, so you can just click booking options. We'll just show you, hey, these are all the programs that transfer to it, right?
Hmm.
Let me see if there's any to, okay, so there's some, okay, to Asia. Four seats, Los Angeles to Tokyo Narita. Obviously, 123,000 points is a lot, but if you have a family of four or five, it's your options are limited, especially if you want them all in business class to Asia. So basically, how I think about this is when you have larger family, you have to be either willing to split up classes on the same plane, split up on a different plane, different planes, or just pay up. That's really uh, how you need to decide what makes more sense for you.
So, Tim, I have a question. Can they type their question in the chat?
I don't believe they can do chat. They should type their
Oh,
questions in the Q&A, and I've been just reading through them as we receive them.
okay, I see. I'm But I can type something in the chat and they can see. Am I correct?
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, awesome. So, whoever asked the question, great question. That's answer a lot, the bulk of family or work travel, but please if you guys have specific questions, we're happy to walk you through them. Okay, next question. Does Cathay ever release more than two tickets? I can't find enough for four people. Base airport is JFK, and I usually book 1 year in advance. I think Maria, this is a great question for you.
I'm they they are rare. I mean, they are rare. So normally the pattern like one or two. It depends on the season and also on the routes. But the good thing about JFK is usually they fly four classes. Yeah, four classes aircraft, first class, business, PE, and also a premium PE that means premium economy and economy. So at least you can get like one to two tickets on business and first class. I have seen from one to two tickets. They may not happen at the same time, but at least when they release in bundles, you will find one to two there. I what what is the reason I say it depends on the routes? Because, I'm from Hong Kong, so I also have families in New Zealand. So when I look at like from Hong Kong to New Zealand, it takes 10 hours there. So there you can find even three to four business class tickets. So it really depends on where you fly, where you go, and the season. Mhm. And for Cathay Pacific, we have mentioned they may not follow 360. I maybe in the middle, but I would still keep eyes on like 340, 345, this kinds of time frame. Still need to do some manual work. Plus, set the alert on Roame. Mhm.
Yeah, sometimes when it comes to this, you always have to do some manual. So for example, whenever I fly,
Mm.
I have, you saw how many alerts I have. I have 40 different alerts set, but I still also check manual, just because you never know. You never know what might happen when you're checking. Or when you're checking and you switch a date, you switch a route that your alert doesn't cover, right? So at the end of the day, manual is still really good. Okay, next question. Husband and I are looking to book ANA from Singapore to US. We've
Mm.
watched the patterns, and it seems like these flights get booked within 15 minutes of them being
Yes.
released for business class.
Mhm.
Is it worth the gamble of transferring the points to ANA prior to the dates we want, so we can book immediately?
Okay. I really want to say if you want to say hello, just feel free to drop me a DM. But I really want to say 15 minutes is kind of long. so you won't see anything. Um, I booked it for high season for ourselves and for us. It is talking about within 1 minute. So think about you are going to get the Taylor Swift tickets. So everything's gone within 5 seconds. And I remember one of the coaching sessions I coach my students in our travel is I really show them exactly the time they release. It is kind of open information on their website. They say they even show it on the website, ANA website, say, oh, 9 a.m. Japan time. And I really show all my coaches that, okay, here's his 9 a.m. and then 9:10, 9:20. So they really see the seats are all gone immediately. And then the other thing is if it is all fall within like peak season, 1 minute is also considered too late. It is the exact second you press the button. Yeah. So, um, I would suggest you to keep track by using these kinds of specific point of time that ANA mentions in their website and keep track for longer days. That means longer time. Um, I I can tell you that try a week. This is kind of boring, I know, but help you to build what kind of pattern they release, one econ or two business, so that you have the mindset. Then when you see the pattern gets more consistent, you you can transfer the points to ANA. This is how I do it for quite a few years. Tim,
Yeah.
anything to add? Mhm.
Yeah, so ANA is a specific beast because usually the points transfers to ANA takes a couple of days, right?
Yes,
I think what
yes.
Maria's trying to say is like, hey, get in the habit of knowing when ANA releases those flights. Then you need to make the decision of transferring points. And I know you're asking us, but it's sort of a question to you, like, what is your risk tolerance? Because ANA miles expire after 36 months, right? So if you know 100% sure that you will just stay up, I don't know, 24 hours one day to make sure you get those flights, then it could be worth it for you to transfer to ANA, right? But just keep in mind, right? All these airline loyalty programs, they can change how many seats they release out at any given time. So you never know, right? So I'll give you an example of Emirates, right? Suddenly this year, you can no longer book their first class using points
Yeah.
unless you have some kind of elite status. So anyone who had stored points with Emirates before, um, well, hopefully they booked it before they made the changeover, but otherwise you'd be stuck trying only booking business, right? So it's a matter of your risk tolerance. If you're not that anxious about losing those points in case those 36 months run out, and it's more important for you to get those four business class seats in ANA, then it could be worth it for you to transfer points ahead of time.
Mhm. Spot
Cool.
on, yes.
Next question. When does the calendar open for JAL? What are typical rates from West Coast and business? How many seats are typically available? I can start this off. So if you just go to
Mhm.
the link, the Rome Award Availability Release, you can look under Japan Airlines, it's 360 days. So as of today, it'd be Saturday, October 24th is how far you can book out. I will be honest, I'm not as familiar with how many receipts they typically release, just because it wasn't until this past month that there was, I guess now two US credit card transfer partners, right? Built and Capital
Mhm.
One. Before
Thank
that,
you.
you couldn't get your points to JL Mileage Bank. So I don't really keep track of that. Maria, are you familiar?
Yes. I so if your question, Dominic, if your question is about get the JAL seats through Japan Mileage Bank, then one thing you need to be aware of is they are dynamic pricing, just like you get the seats on Flying Blue, Air France, or KLM. So the situation is very different from ANA. They have seats until everything's gone. So what you probably look for is the safer awards. If you are flying from US to Tokyo, then the safer awards is 55,000 per way per person. And after these safer awards, usually two, then they will jump to the next tier based on the supply and demand. It can be 70, it can be 75 or 80-ish something. And I remember last year I got the ticket for this winter on Japan Airlines website. And after 50, because by that time it was still 50K, it jumped up to 100K and then jump up to 195K. So at least you know about this kind of dynamic system. But the good thing is they are seats, just like you other airlines, the same game system.
Okay, so I know we're there's a lot of questions and we're almost at time. We can go a little over, but Maria, let me just do some rapid fire questions to answer. So I'll still leave the more complex award for travel families in Europe to you.
Yes.
But let me just quickly answer some of these just to make sure I answer as many as possible. Let's see.
Mhm.
Question is, does award availability only go down from that original posting? Not necessarily. Almost all airlines, right as their calendar opens, let me just reshare this page. Right as the calendar opens, they'll usually open up one seat, max two seat. I only see usually one seat in first class and one or two seats, three seats, depending on the airline and business class to book. This is a gross generalization. Flying Blue could be different, but specifically just thinking about ANA first class or JAL first class, right? And then throughout the year, there may be more releases and drops as their inventory and availability change. So there's nothing necessarily consistent after the first initial date, unless there's like a big drop. So either an airline opens a new route, so there's a lot of availability for all dates, or an airline just decides like every single day we're just going to release another seat in business or first to be booked by points. And don't want to get too complex here, but basically, say there's eight first class seats, only one or two are designated as bookable by points. Even if the cabin is empty, there may be only two seats that are designated to be booked for points. So you never know. So that's throughout the year. And then last minute, when you get into 2 weeks, 1 weeks, 3 days before your travel time, that's when a more award availability opens up by the airlines, right? But this again, this is risk. You don't know if you get to 3 days before your flight whether that seat's going to open. And I say 3 days because Lufthansa only opens their first class to Aeroplan members to book within 3 days of travel. So again, everything is a little risk. If you want guaranteed redemptions, book right as the calendar opens, but just know it's not going to be necessarily four seats. Well, it's definitely not going to be four seats in first class. Okay, that has been answered. Um, Stephanie asks, will the flight hit the partner side before it's posted on their own site? I haven't done anything
I'm,
methodical, scientific about this, but I'm going to say no,
Mm,
because it's
yep.
on the specific airline to release it to their partner. So they wouldn't usurp their own members.
Yes, and the trend is even going more extreme to this. They want to really appreciate and value their members. So, for example, Cathay Pacific, EVA, and even Singapore Airlines give those seats for them. I have this post on my on my blog. So you just go to mariaponstheway.com and you'll find these kinds of inside the drama strategy. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's another question about where's this table. This is just a up-to-date table
Mm.
that's automatically updated on the Roam website. I'm going to put it again in the chat. It's just called Award Availability Release. You can also go, Google it, Roam Award Availability Release. I'm still going to go through some questions because we have 69 questions left and only 10 minutes, really. So I'm going to go through some quick questions. I think there was a question. Yeah, so someone's asking about safety flights. Safety flights just means that, hey, you want to have some flight booked, probably economy, just to have it booked so you can start planning. And then you use the time after that's booked to search for that business or first class flight. That's why it's called safety because that's a fallback option in case you don't find those great deals for business or first class. There was also another question about how do you calculate cents per point. Um, Let me give you example. Let me see. So actually, the best way to do this, let's just do US to Paris, one seat. Gonna do nonstop. Let's just do Air France so it's easier. Uh, okay, so you see this for January 20th, IAD, which is Washington to Paris for 375,000 points, right? So I would do IAD, which is Washington, to CDG, and it was January 20th, right? So if you, I click search, I go nonstop, and let's see, what was the flight? It was 6:50 p.m., 6:50 p.m. So this is about 3,378. So how do we do the math here, right? You would take 3,378, you would subtract 242 for the fees, and then you would take that number after that, and you technically multiply it by 100 to get cents, and then you divide by the 37,500, and that gets you a cents per point. So if I were to do the math, let's just see, 3378 minus 242 times 100 divided by 3,500, right? All right. Oh, wow. 8 cents per point. That's much more worth it than I thought. So yeah, there you go. That's how you have your calculation for cents per point. There you go. Let's see. Okay, no more easy to answer questions. So Maria, let's go through
Okay.
some of these harder to answer questions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
From Jakarta to Dallas. Um, okay, it depends on how many people in your group. Normally, I would either use EVA, Singapore Airlines, and Cathay Pacific. They have direct flight. I mean, they have direct flight through these connecting cities, and also just like what we mentioned, they are very exclusive to the members. So, it is the start for you I to to search. I have these kind of strategies on my blog as well, and I'm also going to have a free masterclass this coming Sunday, and we will talk about how to really plan your routes for your families. So I will drop the link in the chat and also in a follow-up post. Then you can join me.
Do you want to go for the next one, which is
Yes, let me see.
what is the best way to use points to book Cathay Pacific business to Hong Kong in the spring, say April or May?
I would suggest you I sign up for Roam. I set the alert. Really tell Roam what you need. I so that they can help you. And at the same time, you also do your menu search. Yeah. Which is very important to get your seats.
Yeah, I'm answering questions over text as well.
Okay, me
So
too.
I appreciate the plug for Rome. So yeah, we do cover Cathay. I April and May is going to be harder, but Cathay, I have noticed they have been doing a lot of large releases randomly, even for two seats, from a lot of different airports. LAX was a big one for first class, two seats every day for months. That happened about 5 months ago. I also saw some recently from JFK. So just keep an eye out for Cathay. You'll usually see in the Rome group, someone's like, "Oh, Cathay has been posting a lot of deals." It's definitely possible. Next question. Two tickets, business class or premium economy, with a 16-year-old want to come back mid-June from PVG, I believe that's Shanghai, to to the US, and they can reposition to
Okay.
SFO.
So they're they're pretty much quite similar flying through Hong Kong, or Japan, because I there are a lot of daily flights between Haneda and Shanghai PVG. So the way you can try is from US to Tokyo, Haneda, or even Narita. Depends on you want a longer connections, and then you fly to Shanghai. The other ways is just like what I mentioned, Cathay, EVA. But as long as you you get a port a city that can get you business class and PE. So uh, Taipei, Hong Kong, but Tokyo is one of the options. Mhm.
Yeah, I can answer here because I
Mm,
helped someone book to China, not necessarily PVG, but if
mm,
you're flying from SFO or LAX, we're flying back to it. You have
mm.
airplane points. I believe you can still book Asiana using airplane. That's not
Yeah.
fully folded into Korean Air, so you would just do PVG or PEK from Beijing to Seoul on Asiana and to LAX. So that's one ticket. You can book it. I think it was either 75,000 points or 87,500 points for business class. Sometimes they will have two seats. The other option is you can just reposition yourself. So if you have Alaska miles, there's a lot of Korean Air to from Seoul to San Francisco, Seoul to LAX, or Hawaiian Airlines from Seoul to Seattle in business class. So if you have Alaska points, that's a great way. And then you can just buy economy from Shanghai to Seoul. Okay. Um, that was done. Best, I'll leave best lounge in Shanghai, Hong Kong, Korea, Tokyo, Taiwan.
Oh,
I guess this is a fun one, but yeah, Maria, why don't you go first?
Oh, for Hong Kong, definitely Cathay Pacific first class lounge. Um, yeah, I and also in Hong Kong, it is a kind of launch paradise. There are a lot of launches like American Express, and if you travel One World or Cathay Pacific, you have Cathay Pacific, Qantas, uh, and also there are a few launches accepting priority pass, and they are cool. So definitely Hong Kong, you need to spend more than 3 hours doing the launch hopping. Um, where Korea. Oh, Korea is also quite, yeah. They have quite good um launches. I last time I because I travel on Japan Airlines. I think Japan Airlines on One World business. So we went to One World business launch in Seoul, I mean Incheon. So it is definitely a must if you can you travel on like Cathay Pacific business flying to Hong Kong or back or regionally. Um, Narita, because I usually travel on ANA or Japan Airlines business or first class, so there's a really good, especially Japan Airlines first class. I like the the freshly made sushi. Taiwan, Taiwan, I only visited EVA and also the launch in priority. I mean, offered by Priority Pass. And this is what I have heard. I they are good. But when we compare it with Starlux launches, of course, Starlux is another tier, another grade. If you can get a ticket on Starlux, especially Starlux business class, also set the alert on Roame. and you can really enjoy their menu, their specialties from Taiwan within the lunch. Worth a try. Mhm.
Yeah, and I would say for Taiwan, I've been
Mm.
to I think all the lounges there. So if you have priority pass, I think the Oriental Lounge is probably the best for priority pass. They do have beef noodle soup, very small bowls though. Amongst the Taiwanese airlines, China Airlines, Eva, Starlux, I think Starlux has the nicest interior. Very solid, high quality food, but in terms of the best homey soul food, like that's China Airlines. They have a whole beef noodle bar. And then Eva probably has the most space. They are the largest airline there. Hong Kong, I would say Cathay Pacific, again, the best. But if you only have priority pass, probably Chase Sapphire. I believe that Chase Sapphire by the club is accessible with just priority pass in Hong Kong. Um, and it's better than the Amex one there. I don't necessarily know about Tokyo Narita because they usually fly either JL, A&M Business, but Haneda has the Amex Centurion Lounge that just opened, which is really nice. Okay. Um, Next question. This is a question from Perth. So I'm not going to be able to answer this, but this person's from Perth, Western Australia. Is it easy? How easy or how hard is it to find award seats?
It, Nick, it depends on what kind of points you have. I know American Express, it is one of the points you can earn. And the other thing is I'm I'm not very familiar with Australia, but I know Cathay Pacific, they have frequent flight to Hong Kong. And also Singapore Airlines is another network that you can think about. Um, if you can transition, sorry, if you can reposition, then EVA, uh, they also have the flight back to Taipei. So as long as you go back to the major Asian cities, you can fly to Europe or US. So I remember it is Brisbane to Taipei. And one more options that you can think about is Vietnamese Vietnam Airlines. They have direct flight between Saigon and Sydney. I can't remember Saigon or Hanoi, but yeah, these are the major airlines that can take you to the connecting points and then fly to the other part of the world. I think I have something similar in the blog, so I
Yeah, and I just did a
you are
quick
showing
search.
them. Okay, good.
Well, I guess we cover them because we have Australians who search for this. So if you want to do Perth to Asia, for example, you're probably using Singapore Airlines. For business class, I'm assuming you want to fly out of Australia, but if we want to do anywhere, Virgin Australia is probably going to be, oh, I guess some Qantas as well. But these look like only 1 hour flights, right? So I'm not sure that's exactly what you're looking for. There's availability, but it's just harder because Australia doesn't have as many carriers supporting it. But it's definitely possible. Okay. Let's try to answer as many questions. Let's skip this one because you're already answering it, Maria.
Mhm. Yeah.
Family of three planning a trip to Japan late May. What's the likelihood of last minute business class availability? They have both. They have everything. Chase, Amex, Cap One, American Airlines, Atmos. Okay, maybe I'll take that one. Maria answers the other one. So this is hard. At least it's a family of three, so it's going to be easier for you. Honestly, your best bet now is just to set alerts because you missed the calendar open for buying seats and you're not within 1 to 2 weeks, which is when more availability opens up. How I would set alerts, definitely set the ones for 3 seats to Japan from your home airports. Also, some close airports you're fine repositioning to. And then also, I would set some flights to nearby airports, right? Maybe you fly to Seoul, maybe you fly to Taipei, maybe you fly to Singapore or Hong Kong instead, right, to reposition. So that's the strategy I would use. Okay. What are the best airlines to partner for Amex? My partner and I want to use up these points before canceling. Um, this is
Mm.
going to be hard to answer unless we know where you want to go, because Amex has some great transfer partners, right? ANA,
Mhm.
Singapore Airlines, etc. Um, so yeah, I guess it's where you want to go, right? Because yeah, it's very hard to answer. You can use a transfer to Virgin Atlantic, fly to Europe, right, for very low points price, a little higher in fees. You can transfer to ANA, obviously book some good deals, but the transfer time takes a little bit longer. Singapore Airlines, more consistent to Asia. You can transfer to Flying Blue for Europe, very consistent with Air France or KLM. Usually, the lowest fare is on average 60K points for business class on KLM or Air France, or 45K from like Washington, D.C. That's the only route right now that has 45K for the Sabre fare seat. So it really depends on where you want to go. But if you just want to use them up, Europe's probably your best bet because there's just more availability to Europe with flying via Flying Blue or Virgin Atlantic, for example. Okay. Next question. I want to fly to Asia late March. Obviously, it's way late to book schedule open. What is the best way for me to use Rome to find a worst place in J? I assume I have to wait until much closer in. Um, let's just, I will just search on Rome. So I'm going to do continental US. The reason I do this is excludes Hawaii, which most people don't want to fly to Hawaii to fly to Asia. So let's just do Asia. And you said late March. Okay, so I'm assuming you're going to go for the spring sakura season. So I'll just do all of March. Let's just see what's available here. Okay, I'm going to assume you meant East Asia, so I'll get rid of the Turkish Airlines stuff. Yes. So look, there's still availability, especially if you only want one seat, right? You can fly EVA, right? To Taipei, for example. You can fly Japan Airlines, for example. Even China Airlines, although this gets way more pricier than you would probably look for. Or if you want, you can try to do Asia and just reposition to Istanbul and fly from Istanbul, right? So it's still very possible. My recommendation is to just set up alerts because you never know what pops up. And keep in mind, everything in Skyview is expired after 4 days, so you only see stuff that we found a long time ago. But I wouldn't be surprised. Actually, let's do one stop to East Asia in March. And then I don't want British Airways, so I'll set my fees lower. And just see, get a hang for what's going to pop up, right? So LAX to Haneda, 60K points on AA, right? Sometimes it may be better for you to book one of these reposition flights. So this is a flight that's economy for the first leg, and the business and Starlux Asia, um, which people want to fly. And while we're on this, Atmos is great because you can book this flight and then drop the SFO leg officially on the Atmos website. So you can fly from LAX directly for business. Okay, that was answered. So I think we already answered family of four from East Coast to Hong Kong or Singapore, correct, Maria?
Mhm.
Okay. Um,
So in general, we have talked about Cathay Pacific and Singapore Airlines. Right now it is it is you what kind of points on your hands and what kind of cards in your portfolio. If we are talking about I showed you an example. You can use the tool to help you. You can keep track of their work window I and then track the pattern. So this is something I we have talked about. And if you want something in much more details, I'm hosting a free masterclass this coming Sunday that really show you the key system, how to really do that. So if you are interested, I will drop the link in the follow-up post or in the chat.
Okay. Another person's question. Take on Air India redemptions. It's only direct flight to India, and I have 110K first class redemption. Um, I'm not the best person to answer this because I've never flown Air India.
Mhm.
Maria, have you flown Air India?
Uh, no, I only see a lot of Air India redemption on Aeroplan. So that is the knowledge I have. So we can also put it in our note and we can follow up with you and see what kind of review from the members. I
Yeah.
then we can tag you. Yeah. Mhm.
It's going to be hard for us to answer. Obviously, we all see
Mm,
what's out there, but keep in mind, most people also don't fly on Air India first class. So I
mm,
guess this is what I would say, like with award redemptions, regardless of the airline, it's all about balancing risk and price and your situation, right? So you want to book for a family for four. If you can find that in first class and business on Air India and you're fine with the points, then that may be the best for you because you're flying direct versus trying to like finagle another way there that's less direct, that maybe not fit all four of your family. So it's just the risk you're willing to take. I'll give you one caveat from my perspective. A lot of people speak negatively about Lufthansa first class, but I thought it was a wonderful flight. Actually, I was pleasantly surprised um, about the service, the product, the food, everything, right? So also keep in mind that sometimes what you hear online, you only hear the extremes, right?
mhm.
Okay. Okay, well, somehow we end up with more questions now that we're trying to close out. So we do have to close out within the next 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. My family of four are
So,
planning
yeah,
a trip from Edmonton, Canada
calendar thing.
to
Mhm,
Nairobi. Flexible in
mhm.
dates. Do not know how to approach this. Oof, Canada to Nairobi.
I'm again, I hope I can greet you with the name. So even though I'm kind of experienced, or you believe I'm experienced, I always start with Google Flights. This helped me to identify at least a quick skim on what kind of routes so that I won't miss any possibility. Because if I open Roame and I do some search, I don't know whether they are correct or missing something. So the Google Flights help you to have the first level of information, I mean, first level of data, and then you use the information to type it in the search in your what to like roaming, and also set up the alert. And from there, you can also identify what airlines, which connection airports. Then you match your bank transfer partners or airlines partners, then you can start with these kinds of steps.
Yeah.
I also talk about that in the upcoming masterclass. Mhm.
Yeah, I think what Mira mentions to say is Rome
Yeah.
is not going to cover all the routes, right? Specifically for Skyview. So I can share right now. Skyview is not going to cover Edmonton to Nairobi. I can tell you that. Unless you save a alert as a pro member, then we'll cover Edmonton to Nairobi under Skyview, right? But you can always search live search for that route to see what's
Mm,
available. So right now I did a search for Canada to Nairobi. And you can see you probably can't transfer, you don't have these currencies to transfer here, but there is Etihad from Toronto to Abu Dhabi to NBO, which is Nairobi, for 75,000 points on American Airlines, right? So it's definitely possible. It's just going to be a lot harder from Edmonton. So you might have to position to Toronto, for example, or even to the US to book that flight. Okay. Next one. Already answered this question about points transfer value. Um, we have how do you get four business class in the same flight? Um, I think we've answered this a bunch. I would say quick summary, just to summarize. There's a lot of different ways, but setting up alerts is probably the best option. There are very few airlines that offer four seats available on the same exact flight. Being willing to split up your party to two, maybe in premium economy, two in business, or even better yet, two in first and two in business. If you can really swing that, that's going to be a lot harder, or one in first and three in business. Just being flexible, right? Also positioning to different cities. So if you're based in New York, being willing to fly from Chicago, Washington, D.C., will make it a lot easier for you to find those availability, especially to Japan, because it's still very popular.
Mhm.
Yes, and that's basically the next two questions. Um, Another one, what's the chance to find a better deal for three people 1 to 2 weeks before the flight to Japan? 1 to 2 weeks before is where you get the most availability. So actually pretty good. But depends on what time of year. If you're looking for March and April, you may not find that much availability just because that's the most popular time. Also, November, December, very popular times. So it's going to be hard for you, even last minute, to find those deals unless you're flying on Thanksgiving Day or New Year's Eve or flying on like Christmas, for example. That you can probably find some. And in fact, I have booked four seats on Japan Airlines first class via Alaska on like December 26th or something like that. Okay. Um, Family four, sometimes they fall short of the points. So they're asking, is it worth it to buy points to top off or just wait? Um,
Mm.
yeah, do you want to go first, Maria?
Yes. I'm I'm the camp I'm in the camp of buying points as long as you do the math and get the value out of it and also can generate the saving from buying the tickets in cash or getting the points in very expensive way. So as long as you get the promotion, it is the time that you look at whether they are worth for you to topping up. The other way you consider is if it is just like, oh, a few thousand or 10,000, and it is the number of the dollars that really fit your budget, then I would go ahead. Mhm.
Yes, I'm also in the camp of buying points only when it's worth it. But you have to keep in mind, only some points are worth it to buy, and you have to know when to buy them, right? So I would say like sometimes it may be worth it to buy Alaska Airlines points when they have like a 80%, 90% sale kind of thing. Sometimes it may be worth it to buy Lufthansa, right? Usually, how I think about buying points is can you get them down to 1.35 cents, 1.25 cents per point? Then it's probably worth it if you really want to use it to book for family. This rarely happens, but it does happen. Lufthansa had 1.3 something cents per point, or Canada did a big sale during their anniversary sale for I think it was 1.25 cents. Kind of crazy, very low. You're not going to get that low, I think, on Alaska, but I think I've seen 1.47 cents per point. But again, Alaska has some unique availability, like booking Korean Air, booking Starlux for fairly good rates. Um, Okay, I'm going to ask, yes, if you have the Alaska card, you can waive the Alaska partner redemption fee. So you can um, buy something with points, ask for a refund, and there's no fees. Um, okay, someone has a question about camping. This is a little controversial. Um, Camping means, hey, you're booking a year in advance because it's a great deal and you see it and you have the points available, but you're not sure you want to go. So you're going to camp it and book it to give you the optionality later. My rule of thumb here is be reasonable and be fair, right? If you're doing one or two seats camping, that's probably pretty fair because, like, hey, you're booking for your future, right? If you're booking 30 days of seats, you probably shouldn't do that. Be fair to the rest of the community, right? So you know how to thread the needle. Like if you feel like it's not great, then do it. You also have the issue of like, hey, your points are going to be stuck there, right? So just be very careful with camping as well. Maria, do you have any comments on camping?
Always. Yeah. Okay. It's just kind of personal answer. Always. Um, but to guide you to think about, just like what Tim mentions, is it something that you want to go on and you want to try. For example, I remember one of the question asking us, "Hey, I don't know where to go. Then how can I start with the search or start with the award redemption?" Then, if you don't have any places on your mind, then think about which airlines you want to try, which hotels you want to try, or which aircraft you want to experience. Then it helps you to think about, oh, all these kinds of destination for redemption. Then it is also one way for you to evaluate whether it is worth it. Uh, and to me, yes, personally, okay.
Yeah. Um, so the nuances here is usually if you see a deal, and you're even thinking about booking it, book it. But don't do this 30 times and just hold it. That's where it gets a little weird. But like my advice is like, hey, if you're even thinking about like, hey, this might be a good deal, just book it. Don't come back. Once you come back, it's almost always gone. I make this mistake all the time. So I'm like, oh, like this is a nice trip. I do want to fly this. I do want to go here, but maybe I need to check with some people. Well, book the flight first before you check with whoever you want to fly with, right? If you're booking two seats or whatever.
Yes.
Uh, Great question by Janet. Very confused by Virgin Atlantic. Okay, I'll give a quick download here because Virgin Atlantic it can be another entire session. So there is Virgin Atlantic, which is the flights that fly usually to Europe. That's Virgin Atlantic based in UK. And then there's Virgin Australia, which is obviously Australia. So people typically get this confused. But I think you're referring to Virgin Atlantic, which most people use it to book ANA flights. So how does that work, right? Um, I'll give a 2-minute summary. Basically, you can book ANA for a lot cheaper on Virgin Atlantic because they have an award chart set prices the lowest out there, other than maybe ANA itself. But because ANA is not in the same alliance as Virgin Atlantic SkyTeam, ANA Star Alliance, there's some kind of agreement where you can still use Virgin Atlantic to book ANA, but ANA does not show up on Virgin Atlantic's award search on their website. So how people know when to call Virgin Atlantic to book ANA is they use like Rome or Air Canada or United or Virgin Australia to find that ANA availability, and then they call Virgin Atlantic to book. Obviously, there's caveats like business class is not available within 2 weeks of traveling, as well as you have to book within the Virgin Atlantic window. But I'm going to post a link to an article in the chat that you guys can just take a look at afterwards. So basically, this article about booking ANA business class and first class using Virgin Atlantic. Okay, next question. Does Rome support other cities in Asia as well? I've not seen other cities in the Southeast Asia apart from North Asia. We do. We
Mhm.
support on live search, you can search any route, origin, destination. You're probably referring to Skyview. We definitely do support that. It's just going to be a lot rarer. And why is it rare? You have to ask. Well, just think of the different airlines that serve Southeast Asia, right? That's really the major one is probably Singapore Airlines. I would say maybe Malaysia. Um, airlines, but no US credit card points transferred to Malaysia, right? So you're really stuck with Singapore. Um, and that's really it to Southeast Asia. Or you can use AA and you maybe book like Japan Airlines to Southeast Asia. Maria, any thoughts here? I'm going to search live just to see if there's anything to Southeast Asia.
I I use them and I I believe they cover quite a lot of different cities. So mhm.
Okay.
And as what you say, Japan still top one, right? Top the list of the destination, dream destination. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so we always have a lot of availability. So there's 3,500, routes here just based on the parameters to Southeast Asia, right? So Honolulu to Ho Chi Minh in Vietnam, New York to Kuala Lumpur, Seattle to Ho Chi Minh via Starlux. So actually, there's a great availability on Rome. Also, Finnair, JFK to Helsinki to Bangkok. So yeah, just
Hmm.
Skyview is extremely powerful, guys. It seems deceptively easy, like a beginner tool, but once you toggle this on, you'll be able to see a ton of availability. We have the most out of anyone out there. Okay,
Okay, I can answer this Europe question.
flying to Europe is
Um,
your best East Coast city to fly from.
So, of course, JFK is one of the best and easiest one. The other one you can think about is Boston. Because you haven't mentioned where are you on East Coast and where you want to go to in Europe. So I throwed you some ideas. Boston to Dublin, which is quite a decent deal on Alaska. I mean by using Alaska Atmos for the flights on business class, and the other one is uh Boston to Lisbon. Mhm. The other one from JFK is to to Frankfurt. That is what I have mentioned through Alaska Atmos as well on Condor Air. They have released kind of award dumps regularly. So keep check on the website and also set up the alert. I also the New Jersey, the airport in New Jersey, EWK Newark, they have flights directly to Porto in Portugal. So this cover quite different parts of Europe. So I hope it helps. Mhm.
Yeah. I'll ask her a question. Okay, so we do have to wrap up and we still have 54 questions. So maybe you guys will have to do another session or ask it in the Rome Facebook group. Maria's also there. I'm also there. So this next question, how do you turn off when do you turn off live search? Confused between Rome Skyview and Rome Live Search. So let me share my screen and I'll run you through my process. So typically, how I like to use Roam is I will do continental US because I only want the 48 contiguous states. I'm not based in Hawaii. And say, let's do Europe, right? Let's do Europe. I want nonstop. I pick all my dates. And then I'm just searching, and it gives me results, right? So then I'll filter down to whatever points I want. So Boston, Dublin, it's a great flight, 45,000 points in Aer Lingus business class. But let's say I just want to look at Flying Blue, just see what's available with Flying Blue. I want to fly Air France or maybe KLM to Europe, right? Okay, so you see availability here, right? For 37,500 points, right? You can see that on Skyview, obviously, this was found a day ago. This was found 5 hours ago, 54 minutes ago, right? Uh, what do I do now, right? So use Skyview to see like a bird's eye view. We call it Skyview for that reason. What's available? What should I be narrowing down into, right? Based on my criteria, because the data is really fast to pull up. Then say I want to fly January 16th, Washington, D.C. to Charles de Gaulle, Paris. I was like, hey, I can either go directly to the Air France website to check, or I'll turn off my Skyview and do live search, IAD to CDG, and that was January, I think it was 13th. And then I want to do 3 days multi-date, right? The reason why is just I want to check what's available now, live, see if there's anything different out there. So and select all. Um, to see if it's still available and if there are any other options available. I guess I'm gonna get rid of all of these, right? So you can see, hey, live search is showing you right now this flight is still available. Well, this is for January 10th necessarily, right? And then I can go on Flying Blue directly to book. Um, what I'm saying, Skyview gives you a bird's eye view, live search gives you real-time availability. That's when you narrow down, drill down, and you still want to search multiple programs. If you're already set on booking with Air France, just go directly to the Air France website and see if it's still available. I would also use Skyview to set alerts just because you have a lot more capability and filters that you can do. So you can set date ranges, for example, you can set regions, you can do um, West Coast, for example, to Paris, right? You can say that. You can't do that on live search because live search is only one airport to one airport. Okay. Um, Probably answer one last question, Maria, and then we'll do closing remarks.
Okay.
Do you want to pick one to answer for the last question?
Oh, there are lots of questions about roaming. So I'm scrolling down. Yes. Um, oh, when is EVA coming? Yeah, this is also my first request.
No promises on EVA for Rome.
Um,
I really like it, but honestly, it's really difficult to add more
mm,
airlines because we have to support it. Hopefully, we can add it, but no promises.
mm.
Um, or maybe let's do a fun one and then we can do a final. Of course, Sam asks, "What's the most impressive flight you've flown before and why?" Ooh,
Yeah, I saw that. Hi.
also,
You
I think
first.
this is the Sam I know, but
I
oh,
think so.
this is hard. Sam put us in a hard spot. I I'm struggling between two, either Emirates A350, sorry, A380 first class on the new refreshed A380 or Japan Airlines first class on the new A350. Um,
Mm,
Different reasons. I think hard product like Japan Airlines first class, people don't talk about it as much as ANA the suite, but the new Japan Airlines first class is probably one of the best first class. That's like still not a full suite, but the screen, it's only 6 seats in first class. If you're flying out of Japan, they serve you champagne that's $2,000 a bottle. Food is good. Obviously, it's Japan Airlines. I consider it Michelin quality because three Michelin chefs designed the menu. Emirates, it's hard to beat their service and their menu and their showers. So, but there are 14 seats in the A380 first class.
mm. So mm, I have taken, and also my family has taken Emirates first class, Etihad first apartment, ANA first class, Cathay Pacific first class, and also JL first class. And I would I would say if you have chance, you have to do JAL first class on the latest aircraft A350-1000. Um, I Even though I have been on different first class products, I really feel moved, not just because of the hardware, I mean, which is amazing because it is big, but the surface of I the cabin crew, they really take care of you in very much details, and really you feel like, oh, you are kind of royal, grown up in a royal family. So, I mean, based on all these experience, I would say Japan. airlines, A350, no matter where you fly. They have quite a number of spots like from Paris, London, um, Dallas, New York, LAX. So you have more choices. Again, set up the alert on Roame and also join my free master class. And I can also sh share you more in details how
Yeah.
to really do that. Get the award tickets, set your award tickets strategies in more peaceful way. Mhm. You don't have to
Um,
stressful. Yeah.
yeah, so we do have to close out. So we've answered 52
Mm.
questions in about an
Wow.
hour 30. I'm honestly surprised. But thank you all for coming. If you still have questions, I know there's still 51 questions left. Just ask it in the Roam Facebook group. People are usually really helpful. And then, Maria, do you have any closing remarks?
I'm okay. Very quick one. Stay calm. I know our travel. It sounds like all hardcore skills. Oh, you search and you keep track. But what I learned, even from myself and also from my students or from my team members, quite a lot of time is about your emotions and your mental. So you trust the process, you trust the tool, and you trust what you set in the beginning from points and card portfolio and your priorities point of view, and you would be there. So this is something I would like to encourage you. Yeah. Don't give up, don't get frustrated. Um, Tomorrow you keep track of something, nothing me the same and keep going. Mhm.
Yeah. I just want to thank you all for joining. And I want to echo what Maria says. I always tell people the perfect redemption is what's perfect for you, right? Don't get caught up in the cents per point. Don't get caught up on like, I have to get first class or I have to do this or it's not worth it. Remember, points devalue over time. That has never changed. It will continue to devalue. Better to use it now today for a trip that makes sense for you and your family or your friends.